Hello, my name is Kent Lewis, and I today am going to talk about the idea of increasing your revenue, profit, and valuation by fostering a culture of caring within your organization. My name is, as I said, Kent Lewis. I'm currently with Anvil Unlimited, a business consultancy. You can follow me on the Twitter at Kent J. Lewis. And I look forward to sharing my insights with you today. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'd like to start by just giving you the clear indication that I love customer experience, otherwise known as CX. Customer experience has been the core of my obsession as an agency owner and operator since 2000. And it all started when I read a book, was recommended this book actually by Les Schwab, who's a tire juggernaut in the Pacific Northwest and now the West Coast. He's since passed in 2011, but he, starting in the early 50s, built a used tire business or new tire business out of Prineville, Oregon. And his obsession with customer experience was inspiring to me. That was my takeaway from the book. It's incredible. To give you an example, is that it's all about one thing they do is that they repair your flat tire. Originally, up until recently, when they got acquired, they would repair your tire whether you were a Les Schwab customer or not. And that's remarkable because tire repair can be pricey. In fact, Les Schwab gives away $10 million a year in free tire repair services. But hey, talk about making a really compel and engage existing customer or a future customer. You know, let's say 10 to 10%, 15% of businesses are not you can't repair a tire if the puncture is too near the sidewall, so you have to get a new tire. So that's a great sales tool for them. But because they build so much trust, you're likely to buy from them anyway because they make such a great experience. They literally run out to your car and take care of you. The other thing they do that's interesting in terms of customer experience that uniquely differentiates them is for 40, 50 years, they gave away free beef once a year in March when the tire sales were at their lowest of the year. And it helps when you have a giant cattle ranch in Central Oregon, which is what Les Schwab had. So he decided, let me sell some beef to myself or just give it away to my customers because it's more interesting than dollars off on a set of tires. And it became icon. You'd see this once a year out on their windows. And I would use it as a running joke to say, hey, can I get some free beef with that if I bought a piece of furniture or some other high ticket item? And, you know, for 20 years, you know, I just wrote this article, in fact, a year ago, 6 tips for creating a first-class customer experience on a budget. It's all about the first-class mindset to create the best customer experience. And although that is still important to me, you know, my views have this presentation is about how my eyes are wide open now. But if you think about what did this accomplish, my obsession with early on in Anvil, my agency's development from 2000 to 2010 or so, is that we crushed it. You know, as an agency, we're getting every award that you could get for the work we were doing, the kind of company we were, the growth that we had. You know, I would say around 2011. After around a decade of building the business, I felt like I was rolling in a Ferrari. That my business, my marketing agency, Anvil Media, was a Ferrari. But by 2012, my view on that started to change. I had constant pushback and criticism from my team and my clients. I was getting frustrated really with them, and I had attended a conference earlier in the year where I sat next to the head of digital for Home Depot. And at lunch, he was talking basically a foreign language. And I've been in digital since 1996. And here it was, less than 15 years later, and I did not understand a word he was saying virtually. And that was disappointing to me. To make matters worse, when I got back from that conference from San Jose back to Portland, my team said, hey, we just had our quarterly call with Google, and it's not looking good. Basically, they say we're going to be out of business within a year or two because of the antiquated way we run our Google ad campaigns. So needless to say, I was not rolling a Ferrari. I was rolling a Ford Pinto. And the problem with Ford Pintos is they have a very sensitive gas tank. So the concern is if I'm cruising along in my Pinto thinking I was doing 120 in a Ferrari and I'm going 20 miles an hour in a Pinto, I was going to get rear-ended by my competitors. I was going to get sideswiped by my clients that were more sophisticated than ever. Needless to say, I was not in a good place. And that not good place came to an absolute pinnacle in March 2013. March is a favorite time of month or time of year for me, favorite month. And I was putting my youngest son's on the bottom bunk, my oldest son's on the top bunk. He's about 8 years old at the time. So I lay down next to him, as I did every night to, help him fall asleep. And it's always a relaxing time for pontification and navel gazing. And as I'm 2 feet from the ceiling, and I'm thinking about that day I'd lost a client and I had to chew out an employee, and I was basically not in a good place. I was angry, I was annoyed, I was frustrated in myself and my team and my clients and everything. And I realized as I was laying there, I did not want to go to work the very next day. And I would quit, except I couldn't because I was the owner. So I needed inspiration. I found that inspiration in Tom Cruise, AKA Jerry Maguire, and his mission statement, the things we think and do not say. It's a 27-page manifesto that is out on the internet if you want to read it. They actually wrote one for the movie Jerry Maguire. And I didn't need to read the mission statement. Or manifesto. I wanted to create my own that was mine. So I stayed up till 1 a.m. that night and I wrote, what are 100 truths? And I got it down to 10 key truths of what I would need to go back to work the next morning. Went to bed, woke up, looked at it, said, yep, this makes sense. Over the next 2 or 3 days, I got some feedback from my network, my business network of entrepreneurs and fellow agency owners, and I refined it down. And then I presented it to the team. And what it actually says, you can Google it, but what it says isn't the point. The point is that I only realized only a couple months ago that I'd had it backwards or slightly off that first decade or so of my career running an agency. And that is that I put my clients, the customer experience, above my employees. And my credo doesn't say a word about clients. It's everything about what kind of person works and thrives at Anvil. And so I basically turned on its head a famous quote by Lee Iacocca. I hire people brighter than me, and then I get out of their way. Now that makes sense if you're in the automotive industry, in football. Coach Pete Carroll of the Seahawks is like, my goal is to graduate these guys to the next level. But he's at the top level, and he has millions of people that would kill or die to get onto the Seattle Seahawks, even in a down season. I didn't have that option. There's no degree in digital marketing that's worth anything, and I even teach as an adjunct, so I should know. Is that it's really hard to find people and then develop them. So losing people is a scary idea. But guess what? That credo became a magnet. And I gave my team 72 hours to digest, think about it, and sign on board to the new Anvil that had this very simple 10-point credo. You're either in or you're out. And within 2 weeks of my original 14 employees, 7 left. Half my team left within the first week or two of signing or not signing the credo. And I say 2 weeks because some people signed it and quit within 2 weeks because they didn't want to say they weren't looking, but they were. So at least half the team was out. But within a couple of weeks, I leveraged my PR background and pitched the media of really, it's a fairly shameful. It's not, I wasn't bragging rights to say I had my Jerry Maguire moment and my company was in turmoil and in flux, but I had a plan, right? And so the beauty is that magnet that repelled my original core members of my team that had been with me 5 to 10 years. Is that it attracted a bunch of others that read about Anvil and my credo and were inspired. And we were able to fill those positions, maybe not with the perfect fit, but with good people. But as you can imagine, it takes time to turn the ship. And in that first year, by the end of 2013, we had 100% employee turnover. Actually, really within 12 months. And the second year, we had another 100% turnover, but we still made money and we still made it happen. And the reason is because even a wrecked Ferrari has value. This shell of a wrecked racing Ferrari just sold for over $1 million. And I felt like, we're not a Ferrari, I get it, but even the wreckage that was left was worth something. So from 2014, when we were at our lowest, when I had lost 30 to 40% of my client, my top 5 clients left, and that was 30 to 40% of our revenue. They disappeared. I didn't take a salary for 9 months, the remaining 9 months of 2014. So that was a tough year. That was an inflection point, but I weathered through that inflection point, and we rebuilt from there. And within 6 years, I was actually at an auto show in the Portland International Auto Show, and I saw this car. It's a BMW M2. I'm a car guy. I've been a BMW owner for many years, over 20 years. And I was like, this thing is an M car. So it's a race car. And I like to go out on the track and I like to drive as fast as I can. And this thing is under $70,000. It's closer to $60,000. That's a bargain for car nuts out there to get 400 horsepower. And it goes left and right and stops and it goes. Anyway, the reason I was interested in that car was I was a week away from selling Anvil Media, my agency, to another competing agency in the Portland market. And I was high on life. I said, I know I can afford this car. And if he backs out of the deal, the other buyer, will I still want this car? Absolutely. I would track it. I would love it. In fact, I wash it every time I use it if the streets aren't dry and it's not clean. So I have kept that car and I've enjoyed it. But the problem is I backed out of that deal 3 days later, inspired by a business consultant friend of mine who was saying, I don't think you're done with your journey. And he was right. I decided I still needed more time to complete this journey of a culture of caring, which was putting the employee above the clients, above everybody else. And so the deal that I had struck with in March of 2019 was good. But within 3 years, in March of 2022, I'd completed my journey and said yes to a second acquisition from another agency out of market for an increased valuation of 1.5x, because I'd increased my profit margins by 1.5x over a 3-year period of refining that culture of caring. So my insight and what I want to share with you today is how fostering a culture of care can dramatically increase your profitability. Basically, that idea that putting your employees' experience, EX, above your customer experience, CX, will generate an optimal return. And that means that this presentation is obviously targeted at growth-minded entrepreneurs like myself, who are always trying to do better with their business, but it's also targets executives of larger companies and HR professionals within those organizations that are obsessed with employee retention, employee engagement, and also the executives may be even more interested in improving customer experience and engagement. But either way, you will benefit from understanding and embracing what a culture of caring can do for you. So today, in the short time we have, I want to define a culture of caring, illustrate the ROI of a culture of caring, and show you on how to get started in your journey towards a culture of caring. So let's start real quick with the definition. As I see it, I can have other charts and graphs I could steal off the internet, but instead I'm only going to borrow some icons to just say it's just a simple tiered experience or a culture where you value employees above all else, followed just a hair second is your customers or your clients, and then last, the rest of the community, all other constituents that matter to you, the local press, analysts, family members, friends, it doesn't matter, charities, just the rest of the community, but they're in that tiered order, or this doesn't hold up. One great example is Southwest Airlines. Their approach is to laser focus the leadership team and management on taking care of the customers. Taking care of, let's go this way so it matches, to take care of the employees. So the employees can laser focus on taking care of the customers, the airline travelers. So while management takes care of the frontline employees, the pilots, the baggage handlers, the ticket agents, and everybody else, then those people can take laser focused care on the customers, create amazing customer experiences. And then those customers are delighted, will pay and come back to Southwest, making it one of the most highly reviewed, highly rated, and highly profitable airlines in the world because of this laser focused triangle, employer to employee to customer, customer back to employee, and the triangle of life is completed. So that's the what is a culture of caring. Let's talk about the ROI. Why do I care? What is the return? Thankfully, I have very limited data, but Tiffany Bova has extensive data and experience. She's been published in Forbes and Harvard Business Review, and she did a very exhaustive research for her book, The Experience Mindset. And what she talked about is on a grid, a Venn diagram of, I think that's the right term, of high employee and high customer engagement. Those in the top quadrant have twice the revenue growth of low employee experience, low customer experience. And that the return, that growth is related correlates directly with employee experience, not directly with customer experience. And I think if you were to extrapolate, you can't have consistently amazing customer experiences without happy employees. That makes total sense. These numbers prove it out. And if you were to invest in employee experience, every dollar is generating an 80% ROI, which is really, really strong. And so you don't need it to be a 1 or a 100% to make it worthwhile. And that trickle down ripple effect means every dollar you're spending on your employees is actually improving every other experience, not just revenue growth, but profitability through better retention and engagement of employees, as well as the customers. So let's talk about the third component, which is taking that journey towards a culture of caring and truly embracing the employee experience and the experience mindset. And that starts with journey mapping. So you're probably saying, you're going to be happy to tell me, hey, we do customer journey mapping. We know the customer journey from that first time they ever hear about your brand, and they talk to friends, they visit the website, they go to a store, and then they purchase, and then they repurchase, and they're advocates, and then they eventually leave. That journey is invaluable to marketers to understand from the initial touch points through the journey. But I'm challenging you to take a different kind of journey, and that is an employee journey. So let's talk about the 3 steps of fostering a culture of care. It's going to be mapping the employee journey. It's going to be implementing an employee roadmap based on the insights, and closing the loop. So real quickly, how to get started. So the best way to get started is by auditing the employee journey. Pretty straightforward. So the employee journey starts from that initial, they first hear about the brand, they go to the website or a career site, they see your job descriptions, they learn about your benefits and how you're different. They apply, they get an interview, and they onboard all the way till that exit interview. Every step should be analyzed, audited, and look for gaps and opportunities to make improvements. Basically, you become an undercover boss, or you have a team that takes that approach, the secret shopper approach to the whole experience. And so with that said, that's just the first step, is to build an employee journey audit and a plan to make it better. And then there's the second step, which I believe is critical. And this is the one thing that we did do. We didn't do an employee journey map at Anvil Media. I'd like to say we did, but we did not. We did a customer journey roadmap, which was insightful and invaluable. But I wasn't, for most of that time I was running the company, obsessed or knowingly obsessed with employee experience. I was obsessed with customer experience. So one thing we did right, though, however, at Anvil, and you may have your own nomenclature, is everybody had a roadmap for their long-term success at Anvil. In your case, your company, we called it an IDP, or an individual development plan. And what that means is that you map out everybody's core strengths, their passions, what they know, what they're good at, what they want to know, where they want to go, where they want to be, and their unique abilities, and put that all into one document that's shared, that's a living document that maps out from today till their retirement, potentially at your company. What does that look like? And you're both aligned, moving there together. That's what the IDP is all about. We typically introduce it after 60 to 90 days, just to make sure they get through that 90-day period, but they have also something to look forward to. So that is really important. So that's the long game document that we would revisit at least monthly, if not quarterly. And then to work on short-term trickle-down goals and tasks and responsibilities and areas of improvement, we went to a weekly scorecard. So I learned that you can't turn that. That took us it took us 6 years to turn that aircraft carrier, in the metaphor that I mentioned earlier with Anvil, from the rebuilding in 13 to my first offer to sell in 2019. And then to complete that transaction or that experience, and it took literally a decade. So the idea is that the employee self-evaluation is what I added in a couple of years, like 2019 or so. Every week, my team would send a self-evaluation in the EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS system. It's called a 555. We did a modified version of that. It's mapping back to rating yourself on our mission, vision, values, and then talking about any major wins or stucks for that week. So that would be every, say, Monday, you would send it to me in my inbox and I would look at it. And if I saw any deltas or areas of concern, I would ask, do we need to talk? And if I saw anything worth celebrating, I'd celebrate it at our staff meeting. The second step was to support with those wins and stucks. Often they didn't happen on a weekly basis. I found that the monthly basis was far more logical. It made more sense. So what we do is we'd include in the monthly scorecard that's part of the IDP. It's literally was a PowerPoint, but we had our highlights for our weekly updates would be in a monthly recap, which includes the roses, the wins, and the thorns or the stucks that were fed in from your weekly scorecard, which was in Excel. These would go copy paste into the PowerPoint. You could use whatever format and tools you want. But the idea is that we would celebrate big wins and I'd help them navigate or recognize their challenges, however, whatever worked for them and whatever needed to be done. And it was a great way to create synergy and simplify things. But also we'd look back at the month in review, and then we'd look forward for the next 1 to 3 months. Let's look at what's coming up with your quarterly. And we'll get to that in a second. But all of this trickles from the weekly updates beyond daily communications to this moves to the monthly level of seeing how we're mapping towards quarterly goals. So that's the next the next step would be once a quarter, we would go in a deep dive into the IDP and see how are we tracking on our quarterly and annual goals. So weekly looked at monthly, monthly looked at quarterly, quarterly looks at annual. So at the quarterly, it's how are we doing on each quarterly goal? Did we hit our goals for the quarter? Do we need help? And then how are we tracking towards our annual goals? And more importantly, those longer term goals. So that's the fourth step is on the annual. I don't believe that reviews, by the way, should happen on an annual basis. I don't think you can correct behavior once a year. So we would use it on the quarterly, monthly cadence. We'd provide more we do holistic feedback primarily from direct reports and direct managers. But once a year, all employees and including key clients would be asked for feedback for annual reviews, which were more of a formality of validation of what's working or validation of what still needs to be improved. But those would all be discussed regularly in our quarterly meetings. Again, the takeaway here is that you can't correct internships once a year. You've got to constantly course correct. And that's where that weekly trickles up to monthly, trickles up to quarterly, trickles up to annual, where we're looking at beyond those year goals. I found that what keeps employees and what worked for me and in the past or for my next job is looking at the 2 to 5 year, the 2 to 10 year plan. Beyond a year to year, what is the fit? How are we going to help each other be successful? And how do we work together to make that happen? So my last bit of advice beyond the weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual feedback is there's other ways to close the loop on that culture of caring, being very employee-centric, employee experience focused, is a 90-day onboarding roadmap, which is by day. Like day one should be by hour. The first week should be by day. By the first week, you should have by weeks into months, so that you have an entire roadmap. Really dialed companies have these dialed from day one. We typically built out 1 day and 1 week in advance. We didn't necessarily go a month in advance. Some companies can do that. We struggle with that as an agency in the digital realm. And then professional development, outline a budget, have them build a map into what are they going to be doing to improve themselves that are built into their IDP, their roadmap for their career at your organization. And then making sure there's recognition. So not just passively finding it when it hits you in the head, but soliciting for that feedback from customers, clients, coworkers, partners, and being able to openly give and share that feedback in a very authentic way, structured but authentic. And then the idea, if you haven't already done it, plan stay interviews. What's going to keep you here? not, I'm so sorry you left. Exit interviews are important, but the opportunity has been missed. One of or both of you failed if you're doing exit interviews. Success is stay interviews, to proactively manage somebody out if we know it's not going to fit before they quit. Or you have to fire them, you just part ways. So that's biannually, I'd say. Alternating from the annual review is every 6 months apart from that, you're doing your biannual check-ins. So that's kind of how that looks on those steps you can take for building a culture of caring. And I'm not Lee Iacocca, but I have better glasses. I would say that my modification of Lee Iacocca's quote is, hire people brighter than me, then we will grow the business and each other together. So I don't get out of the way. I'm right alongside them the whole time. And so it's not adversarial. It's not this way. It is coming together and growing together. That is how I see it working out. So as a reminder, how that worked for me is from 2018 to 2022, we were winning healthiest, most philanthropic, greenest and best employers. And honestly, it was a goal of mine for 18 years to become a best places to work through Oregon Business, but I only had enough employees 2 or 3 times, which is more than 15. And we finally in 2018 hit that place. And it meant the world to me, far more to me than the multiple that I exited on, but it still was nice to be able to have a more meaningful exit by focusing laser-like on the employee experience and creating a culture of caring. So today, what did we cover? Well, we covered, let me just tell you what we covered. We covered defining what a culture of caring is, the return on a culture of care, including my 1.5x or 2x revenue growth or whatever numbers you want to pull from Tiffany Bova's book and her research, and to do the undercover boss approach of auditing your employee experience and then entire journey, and then building roadmap and communication cadences to create a connectivity and engagement throughout. So I'm going to leave you with a quick story, my own Les Schwab story. Back in 2013, and believe it or not, it was March, I exited my office to go to lunch, and I realized I had a slow leak in my tire. So I was like, dang it. So I drive 5 blocks away, thankfully, to the closest Les Schwab. It didn't occur to me to go anywhere else. And I wasn't even a Les Schwab customer at that time, but I knew them well because of their iconic reputation. And I pull in, and lo and behold, Carol greets me. This isn't her, but this is a real Les Schwab employee. Actually, this isn't Carol, but this isn't the gal I met. I just found her on the internet. But basically, she greeted me at the store, came right out. What can I do for you? I've got a flat tire. I'm hoping you can repair it for me. I heard you do that for free. She's like, well, take a look. You're lucky. We've got an empty bay. Why don't you pull in? And it may only take 10 minutes to figure out what's going on. Maybe we can get it done in 15 minutes. Great. So I go inside. I look around. I see they've got their free coffee and popcorn, which they've had for 70 years. I look at their vending machine. I've got a few little snacks and whatevers. And like on the nose at 10 minutes, she says, bad news. Their puncture the screw is too close to your sidewall. I cannot repair that tire legally. You're going to have to get new tires. Unfortunately, my BMW has more expensive, low profile tires. So I said, what's this going to cost? And she's like, by the way, you're tread wear level on 2 or 4 tires. You're going to need to get 4 tires anyway. I said, how much? She said, it'll be $1,000. And I was like, normally you'd shop that around, but you know what? I'm not going to, do that right now. So I said, fine, but hey, can I get at least some free beef with that? This is a huge purchase. Wasn't planning on it. She said, that's funny. I'm so sorry to say, but they sold the ranch 2 years ago. I was like, dang, nabbit. Can I get, I don't know, a pack of M&Ms, something, anything, just big expense. She smiled. She gave me a wink. She said, head back to your office. We'll call you as soon as it's ready. And I walk back to my office again, a couple blocks away. I get a call an hour later, come pick up your car. I go back, walk back. I get the key from a different agent. I didn't see Carol there. I get in my car. I'm about to turn on. I see there's a bag of M&Ms on the dashboard. I'm like, no way. That's so sweet. So I went in to thank her for, going all the way to their vending machine to get some M&Ms. I didn't see her. And I thought, well, maybe I'll wait a minute. They said she'd be back off break soon. And so I go back over to that vending machine I saw on it, and I look, and it's like, no M&Ms. Strange. And it was full. So it didn't look like an empty slot where there were M&Ms. And she comes out It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, Carol. Thank you so much for these M&Ms, but I didn't see them in the vending machine. She's like, no, I just walked down the street to the corner store to get them for you. I thought you'd appreciate that. I said, but why did you do that? Like, you didn't have to do that. She's like, listen, Les Schwab takes care of us, takes care of me so that I can take care of you. That's just who we are. That's just what we do. And that, my friends, is my story and my experience of how and why employee experience beats the customer experience. They're both important, but one is greater than the other. So I have some resources here for you. These are all links to articles that I've written or coverage about my experience with Jerry Maguire. If you send me an email, kent@anvil-unlimited.com, I could send you a link to the deck. Also, two books that I also recommend that are complimentary. One in the restaurant space from the founder of Farrell's Restaurants, which are here in the Pacific Northwest. Give them the pickle. You can kind of imagine the name doesn't age well, but the idea does. If they ask for a pickle, give them a pickle. And then Excellence Wins by Horst Schultz. I've written an article about summarizing my insights from him. He inspired me to write the First Class Mindset article. Highly recommend. He comes out of the Ritz-Carlton world of hospitality, world-class hospitality, worthy of note, and he's got great stories to share. And then you should know that I've actually developed an employee journey audit that's part of a longer workshop. This is just a teaser to what I'm going to be doing next year and beyond, is helping clients audit their journey and then build a plan to make a better employee experience to drive greater revenue and profitability. So you can read the Inc. article related to the topic. It just came out about why employee experience is so important, and email me for a copy of this presentation. And I want to thank you for your time. And hopefully I'll see you at the next MindShare webinar, which is on the 9th of January on competitive benchmarking. And then you can go to pdxMindShare.com, and also to go to pdxMindShare's monthly networking event, December 20th, 2023. If you're watching this in archive, we're going to have a joint event with SEM PDX, and you're going to enjoy it most definitely. So thank you so much for your time, and I will look forward to catching up with you at the next PDX Mindshare webinar or networking event. Thanks so much.